What's up everyone, it's Ruby here, bringing you guys another video. Today, we are going to be talking about the new Saints Row game. The Saints Row Reboot. So, right now, I'm about 50% through the game, roughly speaking. I've done enough where I have a general opinion of what I think of the Saints Row game. Now, some of this is good stuff, and some of it is bad stuff. But before I get into spoilers, here's my overall thoughts. I think the Saints Row game is good. I think it's worth giving a shot. I think there's some good things about it, and there's some not so good things about it. And I think that any Saints Row fan is going to at least appreciate some of the really good aspects of the game. Now, that's all I'm going to say that won't contain spoilers, so if you're afraid of getting spoiled, because the game's only out right now on Epic Games launcher thing, so I understand that some people want to wait for it to come to Steam, and it's probably not going to come to Steam until like 2023 or 2024 or whatever, or maybe you want to experience the gameplay yourself or something. Maybe you're waiting to get it. I completely understand, so here's your spoiler warning in case you don't want to be spoiled at all for this game. Now, in the beginning of the game is actually really fun. I will give it that. It definitely has a similar humor to the original Saints Row games. They're not nearly as sexual, although they're not completely gone. The customization of the characters is really good. This is probably the best customization that Saints Row has seen in its entire franchise. That being said, there's one huge problem I have with the clothes in Saints Row. And that is, you cannot save them. You can customize them with no extra cost, but you cannot save those color palettes or custom designs at all. You can't add them anywhere, you can't favorite them, you can't make them a new thing on the list. So that means that if you want to change outfits and then change back into that outfit, you not only have to remember what you chose before, you have to set up the colors again, you have to set up the designs again, whatever you did to them, and you have to do it over and over and over again. So let's say you try on a new jacket, and then you find out you don't really like that jacket. You go back to the jacket that you were wearing before. Oops, now you have to customize it again and remember the exact same colors. Now, the great thing about the clothes is that you can customize it to look however you want. And you can save custom colors as well. So there's a preset of colors, and then there's additional colors that you can make it so you can make it whatever color you want. And you can save those colors. But let's say you forget to save those colors. Well, now you have to go back and find that color again. There should have been an easy solution to this, which is to just allow us to save our outfits one way or another, even if it's just saving that look, or maybe you save each item. You should be able to save something, but you can't. You are not able to save anything. The second big problem I have with Saints Row is that you can't rob anybody. No, I'm serious. You can't rob anybody. The first thing anybody does in a Saints Row game is go to the first store and point a gun at the store clerk and try to rob them. Well, guess what? You can no longer do that. That is no longer a source of income. Not even just $10. You can't get anything from them. They will not give you any money, and in some cases, in most cases, they cannot even be killed. That's right, you cannot kill the store clerks, which means that if you point your gun at them and they decide to go aggro on you, there is nothing you can do except to reload the game. Well, thank goodness you can save at any point in the game, except wait a second. They're not really saves. If you load that game, you will not be in the same position you were when you saved the game. That seems like a very big oversight. You feel like you're going to save the game, and then when you reload that save file, what happened? You're back at the Saints Row HQ. What happened? And that can be a big deal because this map is huge. This is a big map. And guess what? You also cannot fast travel. The only place you can fast travel to is the Saints Row headquarters, which is in the middle of the, well, not in the middle of the city, it's to the right. So if you want to go to the left side of the city, you have to drive there or fly there or boat there, whatever you want to do. And that's kind of annoying. There should be no explanation. There is no explanation as to why I can fast travel to the headquarters, but nowhere else. Here's an easy solution. Make it so that you can complete the ventures, and then once you complete the ventures, you can fast travel to that place. That would make sense, right? Except here's the thing. The ventures aren't good. They're not good. The problem with the ventures is that they are very repetitive and kind of the same thing. Now, there are some really good adventures in there. There are some really good ones. There are a few good ones. For example, there's Shady Oaks. Shady Oaks is a really good venture. I recommend buying it as the first thing, because guess what it is? It's insurance fraud. It's the best thing. Except there's only 7 of them, I think, or something like that. There's not that many. And instead, you can do gym robs where you have to find 10 cars all around the city and drive each and every single one of them back to his garage. How fun! And wait, there's more. If you do the big future something, you get to drive acid back to the same location. And wait, you get to do it 15 times, or 14 technically speaking, because the 15th time is just having a meeting with them. But wait, there's one that's really fun. You get to go around the city and solve riddles to figure out what you need to take a picture of. But wait, it tells you the answer right below the riddle. Well, basically tells you the answer. It doesn't tell you the exact answer, but it basically tells you the answer right below. It was so close to being something fun, and then they just went ahead and ruined it by spoiling the riddle. Like, it could be like Saints Row style, where it's supposed to be a riddle, but it's really obvious. That's fun. That's hilarious. But no, it literally tells you under the very obvious riddle, what the answer is. It says, take a picture of this thing. I'm like, great, there's only one of those things here. There's no riddle. When the side hustles are more fun than the ventures? Yikes! Oh my gosh. Whew. There's a lot of ventures where you think it's going to be, oh, this sounds fun. This should be a fun one. Right? Laundromat, you clean up crimes. That sounds fun. Except no, you're just taking cars stuffed with dead bodies in them and driving them somewhere. There's a lot of driving in this game. This game should really be called the Need for Speed reboot, because that's what it feels like. There's a lot of driving. And if only the driving AI was actually decent, but it's not. It is not. All you can do is sideswipe them, and then sometimes you can't even sideswipe them, and when you think that you're ahead of them, they just spawn in anyways or catch up magically like it's nothing. There is no thinking to it, there is just driving. If you had problems with the Batmobile in Arkham Knight, you will 100% have problems with the amount of driving that you have to do in Saints Row. Because there is no choosing. You have to drive. Remember that wingsuit that was added to the game? That's actually pretty fun. Too bad there's little use to it, because you're just driving everywhere in a car. That's it. Oh wait, but there's some gangs around the city. That should be fun, right? There's like big bosses that you could take down. You have an epic boss fight, but wait. Oh, you mean they're killed by another person who isn't even in the Saints? That isn't even me? Like, I was so close to having a good boss fight, and nope. That goes out the window. Because he's dead now. Which honestly is kind of fun, because it subverts expectations. But then you realize, wait a second, that means that there are no boss fights. Because you killed the one person that was supposed to be the boss fight. There are some things that are so frustrating because they're so close. They're so close. They're having a really fun game, and then they go ahead and ruin it. Oh my gosh. The side ventures are so annoying because they sound like they could have been fun. Do you remember the side ventures in the old Saints Row games? I say old, but they're not really that old. You had so much variety when it came to the Saints Row the 3rd, Saints Row 2, Saints Row 4. You had so many fun things, like insurance fraud. Insurance fraud was one of my favorite quest things because it just is fun. But now they took that away. Instead of building the story with the side ventures, it's just the same thing over and over again. You have to drive across the city to get to the next venture because they're not in one place. You have to go from place to place, and it's really annoying because there's no fast travel. You can only fast travel to the headquarters, which can sometimes be good because then you can get a different mode of transportation. And some of the mode of transportations are more fun than others. Like you can fly a helicopter. Except there are no airplanes in this game. I don't know why there's no airplanes in this game. There's no airport, so you can't steal an airplane. Why is that a thing? Why can't I steer an airplane? Why can't I at least pretend to be in Flight Simulator and just steal an airplane? It's so close. So close. I feel like the best part of Saints Row is not the main quest. It's the ridiculous things that you can do in the game, right? Whether it's being a bodyguard, being an undercover cop, towing things by stealing cars by towing them away, covering buildings with poop because using the septic truck. Like there's so many fun side quests in the Saints Row games that you kind of forget that you're supposed to be following a story sometimes. It's so fun to just randomly run people over and have the cops chase after you, drive away, go through the car wash thing, and like forgive and forget, and just mess around. And one of the best parts of Saints Row is that they allow you to cheat. You can cheat in the Saints Row games and you can have really fun and ridiculous things. You cannot do any of that in Saints Row the reboot. I mean, you do have notoriety points, and there are like threats that you can deal with around the city, which is kind of fun. But I feel like a lot of the content is shallow. It doesn't really get into the glory of what the Saints Row is truly about. I love the main missions in Saints Row the Reboot because they do have a lot of story, and it does have that similar humor that the Saints Row is known for. Not necessarily the sex stuff, but it still has that like attitude of the Saints Row. But why doesn't it feel like the attitude of the Saints Row? I get the whole idea of not over sexualizing Saints Row. I'm fine with that. I don't necessarily care about that part. But I feel like sometimes Volition just wanted to make it less ridiculous, less fun. But it's the Saints Row. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be ridiculous. And the thing is, the main mission is absolutely ridiculous. And that's great. So why aren't the side ventures like that? Why are the side ventures just fetch quests and collectibles? And what happened to those side stories that really have their own stories about with them? Like Saints Row the 4 and Saints Row the 3rd have some of the best side ventures in like any game. They're so much fun that you forget about the main story. But you can't do that in Saints Row the Reboot. I get some of the things that they had to do. I love their voice cast, by the way. I'm so glad that I use Erica Lindbeck, I think that's her name. Kaori from Your Lie in April. I love that. She is such a good voice actress. And the boss is funny. But I feel like they spent so much time just erasing what the Saints Row franchise is supposed to be about. I feel like they lost some of the Saints Row mojo. It felt like the stuff that they added to the game was kind of not well conceptualized. Because I am being completely honest when I say a lot of them feel like fetch quests, and it's not great. What bothers me the most is the side ventures. How is it that the side hustles, which are supposed to be smaller than the ventures, are more fun than the ventures? Like, oh my gosh. They didn't spend any money on voice actors. Maybe they spent it too much on the main quest. It just, like, it's just so frustrating because I love this game. I do. It's so much fun. And I love the fact that they included prosthetics and different hairstyles and different skin tones, and you can get tattoos as always. I love that. But I'm kind of disappointed at the laziness that it feels like Volition took with this series. like, it felt like, okay, we're trying to reboot the franchise because it got a little bit out of hand. Like, okay, I get that. I get that you can't follow up Saints Row 4 with an actual story because you made it so balls to the walls crazy, because it was a crazy game, right? We can all agree that Saints Row 4 was insane. It did a lot of things that not really many games do nowadays. But I feel like Saints Row tries to be in this weird limbo between crazy and not, and realistic. Like, it's trying to be surreal, but it's too real sometimes. And I feel like it just doesn't... I feel like it's having an identity crisis. Because I feel like it doesn't know what it really wants to be. Whether it wants to be ridiculous, or if it wants to be more of a, like, a simulation. Like, it has some of those quips, some of those humor. But most of this game is just collecting stuff. It doesn't feel like it's a full game sometimes. It felt like the only things that they put true effort in is the main mission. Because the main mission is fun. I love the new characters. I love Nina. I even appreciate the new gangs, although there's not that many of them. There's only the idols, El Panteros, or Los Panteros, and Marshals. There's only 3 gangs, really. And Marshall isn't really a gang. It doesn't feel like... It doesn't feel like the way it was in this... Like, I mean, they definitely made the map smaller. But it also feels too big because of the fact you can't fast travel. And most of the time, you can't even ride a boat or fly, because there's some places that you just can't do that to. I mean, you can, but it just feels like, oh my gosh, it's just so frustrating. Because I would 100% recommend anyone try out this new game. But there are some parts that is just boring. It's boring. It's just boring. It's boring because it's so tedious. It's so lazy, and I don't know what to say about that. I mean, I felt like they definitely had time. It's not one of those instances where they were rushed, I don't think. And there's a lot of bugs, by the way, but I don't really care about the bugs that much because, I mean, whatever. Every game is going to have bugs. Those can be fixed later. But some of this stuff, some of the problems that I have, can't be fixed. They can't be fixed later. They're not going to fix them. I know they're not going to fix them because it's the core. It's in the core game. It's in the game. I just don't understand why they would do it like this. Like, it has such a good story, but some of the story is buried under the boring stuff. Like, there are some quests that you cannot do until you complete the ventures. The ventures that I told you are not that fun. Some of them are great, but the ones that are great don't really last that long. Or, like, because there are, like, a number of ventures that you have to do per venture. And so sometimes you have to drive all the way around the city. And sometimes you don't have to do that. It's weird the way that they did it, because it feels like it's meant to be fast travelable. But it's not. You can't fast travel. You can't even fast travel to the thing. Like, you can't even fast travel across the city. Like, why would you do that? I get that driving is a fun part of Saints Row. But it gets really boring if that's the only thing that it has. Because Saints Row is so much more than just driving. If I wanted to drive, I would play Grand Theft Auto. Because that's the name of the game. But Saints Row is not Grand Theft Auto. I know a lot of people like to compare it. Because it is similar. But it's not the same thing. Saints Row is more about the gangs and the gang life. And the ridiculousness that it can be. And it's not about the driving. It's not supposed to be about driving. Driving can be fun, but it is not the main story. It is not the main crux of Saints Row. But in this game, you can't tag, you can't rob people, you can't do anything that isn't pre-programmed. Like a mission or a side mission. It feels... It's just, why did they do this like this? Because they're so close. That's what's frustrating. They're so close to having a really great game. But it's the parts that are lazy, rushed, I don't know what the heck happened, that just brings it down so many levels. It makes it boring. It makes it a boring game. When it's so close. It's so close. I don't know if maybe they didn't have enough content and they decided to lengthen the game by making everything a collectible or something, or like a fetch quest, but there are ways to make this a lot more fun. There's ways to make it phenomenal. Like, I truly think you can have a Saints Row game that isn't about the sexual innuendos and all of that. You can easily pull that off. But you cannot pull off a game of Saints Row that has nothing to it. And I feel like Saints Row is empty. It's missing flour. Have you ever tried to bake a cake without flour? It doesn't work. Because you might have the delicious cake mix and eggs, maybe. You might even have the frosting. But if you don't have the flour to make it rise and stay fluffy, wet, moist, whatever you want to do with it, then it's not going to be a good cake. And that's the problem with Saints Row, is that it's missing the flour. It didn't rise. Everything else is fine. It's just the flour is missing. And the flour is what makes it a cake. And the cake is not here. The cake is a lie. But what do you guys think? For those of you who have actually played Saints Row, the reboot, comment down below. Do you think I'm wrong? Do you agree with what I'm saying? What do you think of the new game? Try not to spoil the upcoming missions. Like, I don't want to know about the main mission. But if you have thoughts on like the adventures and stuff and other things like that, feel free to comment that below. I'd be glad to talk about it. I'll even do another video when I'm done with the game, because I'm sure I'll have new thoughts then, and I'll have a more complete thought. But I couldn't wait to make this video. So, I just need to get everything out of my head. Maybe it's because I have ADHD. I have trouble keeping my attention, and that's why I'm very particular about the games that I play, because sometimes I just get bored. And sometimes I get randomly bored. I can't even control it. I can't even pretend to have fun. There are some people that can pretend to have fun. I cannot. I'm either having fun or I'm not. But I digress. Comment down below what you think of the game. Not about the sexual stuff. Not about the sexual stuff. Comment down below about what you think of the game. And leave a like on this video and subscribe for more content like this, because I kind of just talk about whatever I want and kind of just do whatever I want. So definitely look forward to that. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, guys. It's been a blast. Bye.